Let's continue to explore the Photoshop workspace. Let's go ahead and open a document. In your Chapter 1 folder, you'll find a document called Riverwalk. Before we actually open it, I want you to take a look at the Open dialog box. At the bottom of the dialog box, there's an option for files of type. If we click on the All Formats selection at the bottom, which is our Files of Type menu, I'll go ahead and scroll up. You can see there are a variety of file formats supported by Photoshop that we can open directly into the program. At the very top of our list is Photoshop, which is the .psd file extension, stands for Photoshop Document. And as we continue down our list, you'll notice that Photoshop supports opening audio files, camera raw files, which are file formats with many of the higher end digital cameras, which are usually SLR. This list is continuously updated based on new technologies and new cameras that come out. The CompuServe GIF file format, or GIF, which is primarily used on the internet for line images and clip art type pictures. DICOM, which is used in the medical industry for imaging such as MRIs and X-rays. As we continue down the list, you'll see Photoshop has some other extensions with Photoshop in the name. These are used in print shops when you're sending a document out for a professional print job. As we continue down, you'll see Google Earth is supported, JPEGs, which are often found on other digital cameras, lower end digital cameras, and we've got some more Photoshop formats. We've got PNG, PNG, which is also used on the internet. I can scroll down and you'll see TIFF, another file format that is a universal file format that print shops will ask for. It will also save your document with layers, as will the Photoshop document file format. You'll also notice we have a list of video file formats that are supported by Photoshop. I'm going to leave this on all formats. I'm going to go ahead and select the Riverwalk and click Open. And you'll notice that it opens my document. At the top of my document window, you'll see a tab for this specific file. And you'll notice that the tab has the name of the file that I opened on it, and its file extension, JPEG. So if I were to use the Save As command right now, it will be defaulting to the file extension JPEG. You can also create a Photoshop document first instead of opening up a file directly, especially if you're going to use multiple pictures and kind of blend them together to make a new image. So if we choose File New, this opens the New dialog box instead of the Open dialog box, and we're going to go ahead and leave this name untitled because we're not going to save it. We're just using this to become familiar with Photoshop at this point. And you'll notice that there's a preset menu for a variety of file formats. So when you're starting a document in Photoshop or in any application that you're working in, you need to consider what your final product's going to be used for. In this case, you can see you can actually publish for the web, for mobile and devices, and for film and video. So knowing that up front, Photoshop will actually do a lot of the preset information for you in regards to file extension, file size, document size, and the color mode it works in. I'm going to leave this at default Photoshop size. You'll see down here we've got color mode. RGB and CMYK are probably the two most well known. RGB is used when you're outputting to non-print. So if we're going to the internet or to a display or a mobile device or a television, we would be using RGB. CMYK is your 4-color process, and that's used for print shops or for print documents. And lab color, you would use that if you're actually working with a print company where you're going to get some maybe professional brochures printed or a catalog of some sort. You would work with them with lab color. They may ask you to use that one, but that'd be specific to the company you're working with. We'll leave this at RGB at this point, and you'll see our background canvas is going to be white by default. I'm going to click OK. You'll notice that the document opens blank. The canvas area is the white area, that's the printable region. The dark gray area is the non-printable region. And this is actually at 100%. We can see the title of our document on the tab is called Untitled because I didn't set one. And we're actually at 100% on our view. On our Riverwalk document, if I click on that tab, you'll notice that it says I'm at 16.7%, which means I'm zoomed out. Let's click back on Untitled. So you can see we can easily switch between documents by clicking on the tabs. The active tab is the one that's lit up, and that's the one we can see it at that moment. If I click on Riverwalk, you'll see that gets brighter, and now that one's the active window, or the active document. Let's click on Untitled. I'm going to click on the File menu at the top of my window, and I'm going to choose the command Place. File, Place. Choosing Place opens up the Place dialog box, and in some sense it's similar to Open, because you'll see file name at the bottom, you'll see files of type, just like we did when we did the Open command. And again, if I click on this menu, you'll see we have the same list of files available that we saw when we did the Open command. But instead of opening it, I'm going to actually place it. And let me show you what happens when we place an image versus opening an image. So I'm going to select Riverwalk and I'm going to click Place. And you'll see that it placed the Riverwalk image on my canvas. Now remember, my canvas was set to the default Photoshop size. And now we're still at 100%. You'll see the X across the image, which is kind of alerting me to the fact that I haven't really committed to accepting my image yet. So at this point I could easily change my mind and click the not sign or click Escape. So on my options bar, you'll see on the top right, I have the not sign I can click to cancel my transformation, which is my place command, or press Escape, or I can click the check mark or press Enter to commit to it. So let's commit that. We can click the check mark or press our Enter key or Return key on the Mac. And you'll see now that we do have our Riverwalk image, but we've placed it. And now our tab for our document has changed a little bit. It still says the document's untitled, but now in parentheses you can see I'm working with the image titled Riverwalk. And I have in my layers panel now, I have a background image, which is my white canvas, and then I have my placed image, which is my Riverwalk file. And I'm at 100%. If I click on Riverwalk.jpg, the tab here on the top left, and switch documents, you'll notice here it says I'm at 16.67%, so I'm zoomed out. Let's choose Image on our menu, and let's select Image Size. You'll notice here it tells us that our image is 3040 pixels wide by 2288 pixels high, and it gives us our dimensions in inches as well. Most people are familiar with working in inches. I tend to go that route myself. I feel more comfortable with it. And you'll see here that this is larger than a standard piece of paper, a letter size piece of paper, and the resolution is set to 230. Now if I click Cancel on this, and let me click on my Untitled tab and go to Image Size, you'll notice that my width and my height on my pixels is much smaller. My document size is 7 by 5, and the resolution is 72 pixels per inch. You may recall that this is the default Photoshop size we chose when we were creating this new document. You can see that since we placed the image in this document, the image is automatically downsized to fit our document. Usually, when you're printing a document, you want the resolution to be at least 150 pixels per inch or more, depending on the image and the print job. And you'll notice here, since we chose the default Photoshop size for this document, it changed the resolution of our image to 72 pixels per inch. I'm going to click Cancel. And you'll notice that the canvas, we can see a little bit of the white edge along the top, and we can see it on the left and the right side of the image. So when it resized my image to fit inside my document window, it did it proportionally. It did not fit it to size. It shrunk it proportionally so that I would not distort my image.